Hey. Hi. Now I know I was supposed to post this video like only a few days after the braids video, but I ended up recording it way later, so that is my bad. Okay guys, please forgive me for this one. Let's just get into the video. Hello lovelies! Today we are going to be doing the tutorial that a lot of people have been waiting for. This one is a tutorial that I have been basically working on for a while. I've posted it on TikTok and I posted it on Instagram and on YouTube Shorts as well. But I wanted to do a full length tutorial on this one because the tutorials that I made was for one specific type of lock when there are so many different types of locks. So I wanted to do the 3 main types of locks basically. And then I add a little bit of extra other stuff. You know what I mean? Let's do it, okay? If you haven't got the video yet, it's how to draw locks. We're learning how to draw locks, babies, okay? And just like always, I will not use any special brushes, so if you are a traditional artist, you can definitely follow this tutorial. Just instead of using layers, just use lighter pencils so that you can erase the whatever you need to erase once I start doing the whole tutorial. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind, traditional artists. Do not get off the video yet, okay? So let's just get started, okay? Okay, so we have this wonderful character, and I know, thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yay. So finally I have an actual character that I'm drawing with instead of, you know, a random one. So the first type of locks that I'm going to be showing you guys how to draw is the locks that you basically see everywhere with almost every type of locks in general, and they are called Freeform Locs, which are basically dreadlocks or locks that are occasionally retwisted. So they get separated into their parts, they get retwisted, they get redone, you know what I mean, so that they can stay the way that they are. They are very similar to each other. Most of the times they're like more than 20 locks. You see them, they're, you know what I mean? You can see them on like a lot of people, and most of the time they're pretty small. When they get smaller, they call them micro locks, and then even smaller than that are called sister locks. We won't be doing micro locks or sister locks, but if you guys do want a video on that, I can totally do that. But for now, we're going to be focusing on the 3 types of locks that I see the most, that I would like to show people how to draw because it's like really the most popular ones. So, Freeform locks are almost like braids. You can see the parts, you can see the separations on the head most of the time. If you haven't seen my video on braids, I suggest to go to that towards for the grid and the separations, because I already have the grid and separations right here. But if you guys totally want to check that out, you can. I'm going to link it. And basically what you're going to do at the start is the same exact thing you do for the braids. So you add your grid and separation right here. And then what you're going to do is that you're going to add the same thing like you do for the braids. You add the flow of where you want your locks to be, okay? So I'm just going to use a random brush, and I'm just going to go and add random flow on how I want my locks to be. This is the exact same thing as I did for the braids, but this time the next step is going to be the different part. Basically what you're gonna do is, the way locks are formed, you can do it in 2 ways. So there's a simpler art style way, and there's also a more semi-realistic way. I'm gonna show you guys how to do both on this same character. Starting with the simple art style, basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna draw french fries. Like, you're gonna start at the top here, and then whichever line you see going down, you're gonna wrap the top in like this box like thing here. You're gonna wrap it in a box, and then you're going to close the box like this, and it's basically like a french fry. That's what you want to do for the simple art style. And then the more complicated art style, it's basically the same thing, but instead of going like in a straight line like this, you're just gonna make it a little bit more like rugged, I'd say, like more rugged lines like this. Like you're gonna let your pencil flow. You're gonna be a little bit more hard on the edges like this, and it basically just creates a little bit more texture to the lock so that it shows more like textured hair, and that's what is adding more detail to the lock. So basically, let's go over this again, and we're just gonna add a little bit more like rugged corners and sides here so that it flows like this. And then I basically already kind of showed what the next part is going to be. But the next part is you're going to basically do like semicircles on the locks. You can either do it, so there are a few ways that you can do it. You can either do it all the way like this in a continuous semicircle line here like this, or you can do it slightly like this, sporadically across the locks. For the simpler art style, the way I do it is I either put none. You can stop here if you have like a really simple art style, like a chibi character, or you can add a few of them, which is what I do for the simple art style. So I add a few. And then for the more complicated art style, I go all the way. So I add them all the way through. And depending how the angle is, depends on whether I change my semicircle to either down or up. Now the cool thing about locks is that even if you do rotate it, it doesn't really matter because it's the same thing all around. So I'm not going to do like any type of rotation thing just like in the braids. So let's go and do it this way. As you can see, it's quite easy. And that's how I draw my locks. So me, since I'm really used to drawing locks in general, I go directly using my line art to do the locks here, and I just use these lines here as like the sketch part of drawing, you know what I mean? So it guess it depends on how comfortable you are with redrawing it. If you want to, I just think that it takes more time like unnecessarily than it should be. So because locks don't necessarily have to be perfect, so just the way you draw it is that you're going to be using, like I said again, like this is for the more semi-realistic style, and then you're gonna go back up there like this. That's literally it, and that's how you draw locks. And then if you want the more simple art style, you can draw it this way without having to do any of the lines at all. Or if you want to make it a little bit more complicated, then you can add only a bit of lines. And that is a simple art style dread. So let's remove those two. Obviously it's not going to be like just the front ones, but this is just to show you exactly how I do the simple one versus the more complicated one. So as you can see on this chart here, this part is the simple reform dreadlocks, and this is the more detailed reform dreadlocks. If you want, you can take a screenshot on this. I'm just gonna put this up for a little bit. Quick thing, this is not a part of like the actual forms of dreadlocks that I want to do, but if you do want to do butterfly locks, which I've seen a lot of people ask me like how to do it, you basically just want to add extra curls on the outside of the locks, like occasionally. So the way I do it to make it quicker, I just do it all in one thing. So I do one line like this, and I just do a curly line going down the lock. I'm just going outside the lock occasionally, like this. That's how you do a butterfly lock in the more complicated art style. And then in the simple art style, the way you do a butterfly lock is, since the simple art style has more of like a, let's say like you kind of see the middle part more, I'm just gonna add it occasionally on the sides like this. And then you're just going to erase the parts where you don't have to see it like that. And that's how you add your butterfly locks. All right, let's move on. Okay, so next we are doing freeform dreadlocks. So freeform dreadlocks are basically, you don't reform them, you don't retwist them, and you just let them flow however you want. And that is freeform dreadlocks. So there is no, you cannot see the parts, there's no parts, it just flows and it goes wherever you want it to go. So that's the part about freeform dreadlocks that I think a lot of people don't see a lot in anime characters or just characters in general, is the fact that they're not uniform, they are not the same form, they are not the same shape, and they are not the same size. It just flows the way the hair flows, you know what I mean? It just grows the way the hair grows. If you want to get them more like formed, occasionally sometimes they put like wax in their hair and they go like this and just let them form a little bit. And we're gonna just basically show how we do that in this drawing. So the way I do the guidelines for this drawing is pretty much like the braids, except I'm skipping the whole section part. And I'm basically just adding wherever I want my freeform dreadlocks to be added. I just like go ham. And that's really how you do freeform dreadlocks. You want it to be like as crazy as possible, because you're not even touching your hair. You're literally just letting it flow the way it needs to be flowing. You know what I mean? And that's how you draw the guideline part of freeform dreadlocks. And then this is the part where you really just have to practice. And it's basically what I did for the reform dreadlocks, where I'm drawing jagged lines. But I am not touching this part right here. Like this whole part right here, we're keeping that empty. So we're doing more the outline of the dreads in general, more than the actual shape and form in the middle. And we're going like absolute ham. Like you can do whatever shape you want, whatever size you want, anything like that. You know what I mean? So let me show you an example, obviously. So I'm just gonna add like a little lock here, and I'm literally just like, it doesn't even look like one of those French fry things. Like this is not a French fry. And I'm adding like extra things here. Like you can be as random as you want with freeforms, because it's just how the hair grows. And the shorter it is, the more it defies gravity. So if you have really short freeforms, they're basically just gonna stand up, and you're going way over these lines, but you're following them a little bit, but at the same time you're still going a little ham. You know what I mean? And you can put blocks on top of the other. Like it just goes crazy. It just goes wherever you want it to go. And that's why I really do like drawing freeform sometimes, because it's the one where there isn't as many steps. It's kind of just like go ham, go crazy, because that's literally the way the hair is. And that's how I draw freeforms, and that is how you draw like short freeforms. It's almost like just drawing afro hair, but it's a little bit more just like forms instead of curls. Like you're not going to see a lot of curls in freeforms because they're all locked up. You know what I mean? It's all locked, so you can't really see it. So this is like the long freeforms, and this is short freeforms. We're gonna move on. The third dreadlock type, and I think this is the one that just became very popular. It's not the Killmonger dreads, okay? It's not the Killmonger dreads, and I'm not going to be going over the Killmonger dreads because I think we've all seen it enough, and I needed to stop immediately now. That's why I'm showing you guys this tutorial, so you can do other types of dreads. This one is the more popularized one. Like it became very popular due to the Spider-Verse. Hobie Brown has them, and they're basically called Wicks, which are basically reformed dreadlocks, but they're all combined. So you're not going to see like over 12 of them on somebody's head. Like 12 is like the max number. Like that's a lot even on Wicks. You know what I mean? Because Wicks, they're all combined together. They are formed, like you can see the hairline on a lot of Wicks, but they are all combined together, so it creates these huge locks basically. And that's what we're gonna make for Wicks. So for Wicks, and this is like a quick good tutorial on how to draw Hobie Brown's hair, because a lot of people don't draw it right. So the way you're gonna do it is that you're basically gonna start as if you're drawing the braids again, but instead of drawing this many sections, we're going to draw way less sections because it's all combined together. So after you do your sections, you're going to do the same thing how you do the locks and where you want to flow. So Wicks, since they're so huge, it depends on the length, of course. The longer they are, the more it springs out and then goes down like this. And then if they're short, they spring out and they don't go down. So they defy gravity as well. So let's do a long one real quick. So basically they're gonna spring out like this, and they're gonna go down like this. So let's create that as the guideline. And then after that, you're going to, these ones does not have to be rugged lines. You can draw them just like the way I drew like the simple dreadlocks. They can just be straight lines like this. And you're basically fully wrapping around each lock so much that, see, even like you can't even see all the guideline ones that I did. But since they're so huge, you're gonna see like the back of them like this. These are long wicks, and then you can add the occasional lines here if you want to. That is the long wicks, and then I'm going to show you quickly how I do the short ones. The short ones is pretty simple. You just go, sorry, I did not do my guidelines. You do your guidelines the way you want them to go, and then you create your wicks like this. As you can see, since they're short, they kind of defy gravity a little bit, and they go like wherever they need to be. So in these types of wicks, you can also do like slightly grown out wicks if you want to, so you don't have to do the parting for grown out hair. It's the same thing for also just regular Freeform locks. Like, people don't get them retwisted all the time, so if you want to, you can frig the sections and then just go straight with the hairline, but just make sure that they're all sort of formed into the hairline properly, like this. And that way you can do wicks that are basically without a hairline, and that's what you're gonna get, like Hobie Brown's type of wigs. Okay, so those are the short wicks, and then these are the long wicks, and I'm gonna do also like long wicks without a hairline. It's the same thing, and then that's how you do them. So I'm gonna do a full like drawing of all the locks that we just went through, and I'm gonna show you exactly the way it looks like with the erased parts and all that type of stuff. Okay, so now that I've drawn all of them, here is the official. Okay, so here are wicks. As you can see, like I said, here are the notes when it comes to wicks. Most of them are the same size and shape, but most of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's say there's a 12th one in the back. Literally, that's the amount that you're gonna have. Like, don't do a lot of wicks, like, because most of them are combined dreads, and I use some jagged lines, not as many, and I just use sometimes the lines in the middle of them. You don't have to do that. This is just a preference of my point. And then we have Freeform Locs. So Freeform Locs is just a little bit more wild, like you let them flow. It's hair that it's just you're letting it flow the way it wants to be. So there's no form, there is no, they're all vary in sizes, and they all vary in length as well. So it's just random, you know what I mean? You just follow whatever guidelines you did, and you add jagged lines that go down like this. It's kind of like a, you know those like caves? And like they have like spikes that go kind of down. Not like, don't make them like fully like spikes, but it's kind of like that a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain. I'm gonna put up a photo and see if I can actually find a photo. Editing Nene in the future, if you can't find a photo, then it is what it is. But either way, this is how you draw the Freeform Locs. And then there are the most popular, which is Freeform Locs. Those are, you can most likely see the parts, and they are like more medium in size. The more smaller they get, of course, they turn into micro locks or sister locks. So those are the 3 types of locks that I really wanted to show you guys how to draw, so that you can make your character really cool and stuff like that. And I'll show you some more examples on drawing locks so that you guys can see like the different ways on how I did it. Okay, so I have a few. Here is one that I have right here, where these are obviously Freeform Locs. They're a little bit smaller, and you can't necessarily see like the top, but that's because his hair is kind of like flowing in the back, so it's kind of hiding the sections. But either way, these are another way of drawing Freeform Locs. This is the drawing of the dad in the book that I illustrated. Today is a rainy day. The dad is right here at the top, and here are his locks. Because I drew him in a book, these are like the simplest way to draw locks and to show that, oh, okay, these are locks. As you can see, these are Freeform Locs. As you can see, like there's the parts there. There are no lines in the thing because I drew him in a book, so I wanted to make it as simple as possible, but still showing that, okay, this guy has locks. You know what I mean? This is my drawing of Knuckles, and these, I would say that they're more like wicks, I would say, because there's not a lot and they're like really big on him. and I think that it kind of matches his hair right here. And then here is this drawing of Bob Marley that I made for a client, and as you can see, these are freeform locks. They're kind of everywhere, they vary in sizes, and I think that Bob Marley is kind of the best example of what freeform locks kind of look like. So this is a cool example on how to pull up freeform locks. I know it took me way longer than it was supposed to actually do this tutorial. I expected to get it done like in 4 days when it actually took me way longer than that. So I hope you guys forgive me for that, and I will be posting regularly, like I said, most likely once a week. Locks are already done, braids are already done, afro hair is already done, and the quick black sort of features one is already done. So we have a lot that's already done. It's almost the end of Black History Month, I know, but I don't really care. I'm gonna continue into March. Who cares? Like, literally, like, I didn't want to do it just for Black History Month, you know what I mean? Like, literally, Black History is every day, okay guys? It doesn't have to be just in February. So I will be doing way more black hair tutorials, way more black character design tutorials, all throughout the other months, because why not? And I hope that this is actually a helpful tutorial, and I hope that you guys are enjoying this series so far. I am enjoying the series so far, so I hope that it's actually a helpful series. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and if you found this video helpful. So I will see you guys next week with another tutorial. Bye!